Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here. Welcome back into the Bears Den NFL podcast with the Chicago Bears First Focus. I'm your host, Alex, and it's the first episode of the 2024 Power Rankings. We've got our Power Rankings here today, and may have a couple moves that might surprise you guys here, but you know, always kind of interesting to kind of formulate the Power Rankings after week one. Um, you know, teams might have an off day that might look a little disjointed. Maybe teams didn't have some guys practicing, and it kind of throws off the rankings a little bit. But we'll go ahead and we'll get into it. At number 10, the New Orleans Saints. Now, if you looked at my video, my hour-long video where I went and picked every single game of the NFL season, I was pretty low on the New Orleans Saints. I didn't think that they were going to be very good, and I actually, if I look back correctly, I think I had Carolina actually winning more games this year than New Orleans. Clearly, that's not the case. It's looking like New Orleans or Carolina, excuse me, might be the worst team in the league again this year. Pretty shake after just 1 week, but they looked really, really rough. And if you are dropping 47 points in the first week, that stands for something, and you deserve to be in the top 10. I probably wouldn't have New Orleans in here normally. I just think that, their team, they've got a lot of experienced veterans on their team, but I have some real questions about their head coach, Dennis Allen, and they are a very old team. But with that being said, you drop 47 points, you get to be in the power rankings at the number 10 spot for me for week one. Number 9, Houston Texans. Now, some of you guys may think I have them a little bit low. They had a close game against Indy, but, after watching the game back, Stroud looked decent, but I feel like they didn't look as dominant as they were looking towards the second half of last season and into the playoffs. I think that Stroud was sacked a couple times. The offense was struggling to move at certain points. Stephon Diggs looks like he's a nice addition. Joe Mixon looks like he's a really nice addition as well. Houston's gonna be a good team this year, but they played a very close game against a team in Indy that I think is probably going to be middle of the road, could maybe contend for the division if Anthony Richardson stays healthy. But I got Houston at 9, played a pretty decent game, and the Bears are looking forward to seeing them in week 2. At the number 8 position, Buffalo Bills. Now, Buffalo is a team that was kind of difficult for me to rank because I kind of have to sit here and look at the game as a whole, and they looked pretty flat. First half, dug themselves into a hole, but then they kind of they obviously clawed back, and Josh Allen had a really good game, and they obviously got the win. So, I don't want to punish them too much for digging themselves a hole early, and I don't want to have them too high for, you know, coming back because I don't know what type of team Arizona is, but, you're dropping 30 plus in week one. You're looking pretty good. Um, Number 8 for Buffalo. I don't have a ton to say on them. It was a pretty good game from Josh Allen. He wasn't making any crazy mistakes. And, it's just if it's hard for me to put them higher because if Kyler Murray looked to his right and saw Marvin Harrison Jr. wide open, perhaps Buffalo loses this game. They didn't. Kyler Murray didn't see that, so Buffalo gets the win. They're the eighth on the power rankings for me. Number 7, just above them, their divisional rival Miami. Kind of similar to Buffalo's game. They dig themselves a hole and then they find a way to fight back and get the win. And Tyreek Hill, pretty interesting day he had, but making big plays again. Miami seemed to play a little bit more physical this week than they were last year. Last year was a lot of flashy offense and scoring a lot of points. Played a little bit more of a physical game. They faced adversity against a decent Jacksonville team, and they, I could maybe put Miami higher, but I think it's more, they definitely did what they needed to do to win the game, but it was also Jacksonville doing what they could to lose the game with turning the ball over and going for it on their side of the field late in the game when they're up 3. Just some questionable things from Doug Peterson. And so I can't really put Miami higher because of that, but pretty decent opening performance. Number 6, the Detroit Lions coming off a very, very solid game, finished with an overtime victory. I was going to move them down a little bit because, you know, after Puka Nakua went down, the Rams lose a lot of firepower, right? And then the game still went to overtime. But I think they deserve the sixth spot because of how dominant they looked in overtime. They won the coin toss and they took the ball and they went right down the field at the end of the game. Um, if you looked at my video where I picked all the games, I had Detroit struggling this year. Seems as if they're kind of still where they were last year, right? The dominant, hard-hitting team. They will fight till the end, and they will find a way to get it done. And you know, hurts me as a Bears fan, but they look pretty good. They looked pretty good, and the slump that I was predicting for them might not actually be a thing. So we'll see. But it's also hard to kind of gauge where the Rams are as well. Number 5, LA Chargers. It was kind of I was struggling a little bit to find a spot for LA. I think that they played a good game against a Raiders team that when you win a divisional game in the NFL, it's always worth more than an actual win. Those games are tough. I don't care how good the difference, how big the difference in the teams are. Um, when you beat a divisional team and you look pretty good doing it, number 5 in the power rankings, right? I don't have a ton to say about this game. Pretty good defensive performance. Herbert was looking pretty good, and J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, looking solid. And my concern with LA this year was who's going to be catching the ball. Didn't seem necessarily be too much of a problem in week 1, but we'll see. But the Harbaugh era in LA starting 1-0. I got them number 5 on the power rankings. Number 4, Philly. Um, I want to move Philly. See, Philly a tough one to rank because I want to move them up because they beat, Green Bay, who so many people have, winning the North, going deep in the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl. And I was low on Philly in the preseason. If you guys watched that video, you saw it. I had them missing the playoffs. But Saquon Barkley looks like he's going to really help this team out. And the concern with Philly still kind of exists. What version of Jalen Hurts are we getting? Are we getting 2022, MVP favorite Jalen Hurts? Or are we getting 2023, bottom 5 quarterback in the league towards the second half of the season, Jalen Hurts, right? And multiple errors against Green Bay could have cost them the game. Luckily, they got bailed out by the defense, by Saquon Barkley having a huge game, AJ Brown having a huge game. Big win against against a good team in Green Bay. Now Green Bay is going to struggle because Jordan Love's going to miss some time, but good win in a tough environment on a bad field in Brazil. Vic Fangio's defense is looking pretty good, and Kellen Moore's offense is looking pretty decent, and Saquon looks like he's really, really going to help that team. So Philly at 4, they look like one of the stronger teams in the league in week 1, despite Jalen Hurts' mistakes and miscues. Number 3, just ahead of them, divisional rival, Dallas Cowboys, going into Cleveland on the road against one of the best defenses in the league last year, arguably the best. Dropping 33 on them, controlling the game the entire time, having a really good game, clean game. Dak making some good throws. Zeke looking decent, which surprises me a lot. But, just an overall good game on both sides of the ball. Micah Parsons having a huge day. And, they gave Dak his money. They gave CeeDee Lamb his money. And so far, it looks like it's paying off. Really big win against a team that I think is bad with Deshaun Watson, but a defense that is one of the best in the league, top 5 for sure. Impressive win for Dallas. This is what they do. They have impressive wins in the regular season. Can it transfer to the postseason? We'll see. But 1-0 for Dallas. They're number 3 on the power rankings. Number 2, Kansas City. I can't put the number 1 because of how close the game ended up being. But, first couple drives, they looked really good. Mahomes taking them right down the field. Xavier Worthy looks like he's going to be a scary, scary guy to deal with in the league. great. Just what we need, another speedster in Kansas City for Mahomes to be able to use, right? Um, Kelsey, even though he's up in age, still having some good impact, and the defense making Lamar uncomfortable in certain scenarios. Really solid performance from Kansas City, and they're looking to build on that and work towards their three-peat. But that game came down to the wire, and but it was against, it was an AFC Championship rematch. It was against one of the best rosters in the league, in Kansas City, number two. And finally, number one, San Francisco 49ers at home. No Christian McCaffrey, costing me in fantasy, right? I'm learning that 20 minutes before the game starts, but I digress. Uh, against a good Jets defense, no Christian McCaffrey. They go out there and they light the Jets up. Doesn't matter. Defense looked dominant. Picked off Aaron Rodgers and sacked him a couple times. And it looks like this team is just picking up right where they left off. Got all their pieces there. Brandon Ayuk is back. Got his money. Trent Williams got his contract extension. He's back. He looked fantastic. Purdy's looking nice. And it's once again looking like San Francisco is going to be the team to beat in the NFC. It's just the roster's too good. They got way too many weapons and way too many guys to deal with, and it seems like the only thing that could take this team down is injuries. So, of course, I'm not wishing that on at all. I want all teams to be healthy. Um, but they look dominant. Very good win against a hyped up Jets team. It was cool to see Aaron Rodgers finish the game, but San Francisco's looking like they're dominant once again. So those are my power rankings after week one, going into week two. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. Really helps the channel. Let's hit 100 subs here. Let's grow this community. I appreciate you guys hanging out in the den with me, and we'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bear down.